Hey everyone, welcome to Judging for the Win. I'm Dave, and this is my daily ruling. Today's question was suggested by a viewer. Thanks to Jason Exists for this one. Amy plays a full value Invert the Skies, then attacks with the grizzly bears. Nick crews a smuggler's copter and tries to block with it. Amy says Nick can't block because grizzly bears has flying. Nick says he can block because the smuggler's copter has flying too. Is this correct? Okay, so I had a video a couple of weeks ago where I talked about how Smuggler's Copter always has the flying ability even when it's not crewed. And if you remembered that video, then maybe you thought that the copter would lose flying and therefore not be able to block here. However, it turns out this is incorrect. In the first place, the fact that the Smuggler's Copter has flying even before you animate it for this question is somewhat of a red herring. You don't need to have the flying ability for an effect to instruct you to lose it. And if you read Invert the Skies carefully, you can see that it affects all of Nick's creatures, not the ones that have flying only. On the other hand, that observation that we just made is the key to answering this question. Smuggler's Copter may have had flying when Invert the Skies resolved, but it was not a creature. And that's important because continuous effects that result from the resolution of spells and abilities determine which objects that they affect at the point where they start applying. Therefore, Smuggler's Copter will not be affected at all by Invert the Skies unless it's a creature at the time that spell resolves. For the same reason, if you threaten a creature after Invert the Skies resolves, that will also not change how Invert the Skies affects it. In contrast, continuous effects that result from static abilities apply all the time, and the set of objects that they affect is updated continuously. So something like this archetype of imagination would change the answer to both the Smuggler's Copter ruling and the threaten one. Ready for one last challenge question to test your understanding? Let's say Amy played Invert the Skies, but after it resolved, Nick activates Bogardan Dragonheart. Would Nick's creature have flying? Okay, so just like what we were talking about before, the Invert the Skies applies to the Bogardan Dragonheart whether the latter has flying or not. This means that there will be two effects acting on Bogardan Dragonheart, one that makes it want to gain flying and another that makes it want to lose it. These are applied in timestamp order, meaning that Bogardan Dragonheart gains flying after Invert the Skies makes it lose flying. So again, Nick's creature could block. For my money, the most interesting variation of this scenario would be with something like this Dragon's Rage Channeler. Let's say that Nick cracks a fetch land after Invert the Skies resolves, which is the fourth card type needed for him to turn on Delirium. Would DRC have flying? And to answer this, let's first note that just like the Bogardan Dragonheart example, we'll end up with two continuous effects, one that wants to give the DRC flying and one that wants to take it away. Just like before, continuous effects timestamps will determine which effect wins out. And the correct timestamp to use for DRC's ability is the point where that ability started. In other words, when DRC entered the battlefield, not when that ability started to do something. This being the case, the DRC will not have flying because Invert the Skies will have a later timestamp. But that's all I have for you today. How did you do? Join me again next time for another daily ruling, but until then, I hope you have a great day.